Hi, it's Jane with the Compassion Project, and I am here with Melissa Costello today. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you for having me. Super excited
I,
to be here.
I'm really excited to chat with this woman. So, a little bit about Melissa. She is a transformational life coach and counselor of spiritual psychology. She's a holistic nutritionist, an author, and a speaker, and she is from Santa Barbara, California. Her mission is to empower women to show up for themselves, guilt-free, and reconnect to their deepest truths so they can live their most fulfilled, authentic, and inspired life. That's what we all want. Yeah. Melissa's in-depth training in spiritual psychology, clinical nutrition, and holistic coaching, along with her own personal struggles, provides the foundation for women to experience powerful breakthroughs and transformation. And she's also the owner of Karma Chow, where she helps women transform their relationship with food. I really believe so many women need help with that. It's amazing what you're doing. And now she's moving on to a deeper level where for the Reclaim Your Wild. And I really want to dig deep into the Reclaim Your Wild today, because I think it's so important, and it's going, I think, from the relationship with food to that deeper finding joy within us. Yeah. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we connected and that we're doing this. And I'm looking forward to having this conversation.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I really want people to get to know you and your story. And so I'd love to start with what led you to want to help women not only heal their relationship with food, but to heal that on a deeper level. Like, what is it in you, in your journey, that inspires you?
Gosh, my journey's been a long one, and we were talking a little bit before we came on live, but probably since the age of like 11, I started struggling with my body image. I also grew up in an alcoholic home, and there was a lot of raging from my father, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of emotional and physical abuse. And so for me, I think, focusing on food and my body was kind of the way I felt like I could have some control in a space where there was no control. And that just kind of snowballed into me putting all of my value in my body, the way it looked, and really, for years and years and years, suffering with this idea that my body was my value. And so that's, luckily I was very interested as a kid in nutrition and health because I was an athlete and I was always attracted to health and a healthy lifestyle. For some reason, I'm not really sure why. I was raised on the standard American diet, but my grandparents were pretty healthy. And I think that they were a good model for me because they were the kind of solid force in my life. And, so when I left New Jersey in my 20s and I came to California, it kind of opened up a whole new world for me in terms of food and what was available. And I became a vegan, and I just started really looking at food in a different way. But a lot of it was driven because of my body image. I thought, oh, the vegan diet, that's going to make my body look a certain way. So I was still always looking for that next thing. I had done all the different diets. I had done like over exercising, fat burners, like all the stuff. And ultimately, I had to really go inward to heal because I spent over 30 years suffering in that place of struggling with my body image, struggling with food, and then also a lot of the trauma from growing up in an alcoholic home, feeling abandoned, feeling like no one was there, feeling like I was alone in the world. And so a lot of all of those things were really why I had the struggles with food, right? That was just the symptom of the deeper stuff that was going on. And so once I started to go inward and look more inward, I really just uncovered a lot. I did a lot of healing. And that's really what I bring with my clients who want to heal on a deeper level. They know that dieting's not the way. They know that anything outside of them is not really going to be the answer, that they have to kind of go inward and do those deeper layers of healing. And so that's why now Reclaim Your Wild, it's like bringing that, like just reconnecting to ourselves and bringing that those parts of ourselves present that we forgot about a long time ago. We all have these shadow parts of ourselves and dark parts of ourselves that we tend to push away and don't want to face. And so it's like, let's get reconnected to that and get reconnected to what really matters and how we want to live our lives. And so that's why I'm moving in that direction as well.
That's amazing. So, yeah, I think so many women in general, I think are more inclined to have that body image and
Totally.
struggles. It's really
Yeah.
sad when you really start to talk to people how many women struggle when they're young, right?
It's
With that.
crazy. Yeah.
I know, but I listened to something really interesting this morning. I'm always listening to lots of personal growth, and I don't know if you ever listened to Peter Crone. He's
Um,
unbelievable.
Peter's an old friend of mine from back in my LA days. Yeah, I've known Peter for a long time.
He's incredible. So he was talking this morning. I thought, wow, and it kind of, to me, is kind of what you're doing. He talked about nutrition and healing people with nutrition, which is important, all the food and making the right choices. But if you have someone that's in a prison, the analogy of being in a cell, and
Mhm.
you give them all the healthy food and all the nutrition, it's not going to heal them until they can break out of the prison, which is an inner battle. So that's you going on a deeper level,
Yeah.
which is beautiful, right? Because you can see the progression from what you've done, your
Yeah.
childhood experience to working in the food. Because you worked for, who did you work for? You were a chef. You were
Horton. Yeah, he's the creator of P90X. He's a celebrity fitness trainer, and so I worked for him for years, and I was his private chef, and I did quite a bit of traveling with him around the world and teaching nutrition. And it was such a beautiful time in my life. I had just started my business, and I just really, I love him as a human being, and it was really, I just connected to so many people, and I was able to really help a lot of people. And but I still was having my own struggles. I was an emotional eater, a binge eater, because I hadn't fully yet dealt with kind of the things from my past that were, they were my jail cell, really. And
yeah.
yeah.
And I think we don't realize it though. That's the thing. And when
Right.
you're young and you're going through it,
That's
you
right.
don't understand
Yeah.
being aware of your thoughts and aware we have to go through it.
Right.
And that's why I think it's such a beautiful age for women as we get a little bit older, because we actually have the time and we can do some personal growth and really understand and heal our
Yes.
past.
Yes.
So what is it that made you decide to go deeper and move more towards reclaim your wild? Like did
Yeah. So it's been stirring in me for a couple years. And as much as I am so passionate about helping women overcome their food and body struggles, it goes way beyond that. And for me, I'm a big animal lover, and so I've really been interested in equine therapy, using horses in helping heal. And so that's really the direction I'm moving in more. And I'll be hosting retreats live in person when we can do that safely, in the next year. And for me, it's really about women coming back home to themselves, coming back home to their hearts. And that's been a big part of my journey, in healing my really relationship with myself, and how once I did that, the food and the body stuff fell away. It wasn't about focusing on fixing my relationship with food or my body. It was about fixing how I felt about myself and those deeper beliefs that I had about myself of like, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, right? And just carrying a lot of that around with me for most of my life and not being aware of it, but just feeling like something's not right, something's off.
yeah,
And through doing all this work with my body and with food and kind of going into that deeper place, this is now emerging into Reclaim Your Wild. It's like, yes, let's just like get out of the cage, right? Let ourselves out of our cage, our own self-imposed prison.
exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you say you were going to start working with someone, could use me as example. If you were going to start helping me
Yeah.
reclaim my wild, like where would you begin?
So I really love to learn about where people come from, what's their origin story, right? And then also looking at where we're most stuck in our lives, like where do we really struggle? Because I work with a lot of women who they just feel lost. They feel overwhelmed, they're over busy, maybe they're moms, maybe they're business owners or employees, but they feel like life is passing by and that they're not really engaged in their life in the way they want to be. They just feel like life is happening and they're just trying to catch up constantly. And so I really start to look at kind of, they're called compensatory strategies, but what are the strategies that we use? Like, am I an overachiever? Am I someone who needs to be busy all the time? Am I someone who's a perfectionist? Am I someone who's a people pleaser? So really starting to look at those things that kind of keep us really small and keep us in our cage. And so understanding kind of those strategies that we've been using in our lives that are keeping us stuck. And so that's kind of my first dive in with someone and really getting to the heart of the matter, like what's really there. What do we really believe about ourselves? And then from there, I work as a coach. And so it's really about uncovering those things and then applying tools and strategies to help them basically reframe those beliefs, overcome those beliefs through all kinds of different strategies, but mostly, self-care is a big part of it, but not the self-care that we think of like massages and pedicures, right? It's the deeper type of radical, like deep self-care internally, like looking at our internal world. Because a lot of us don't pay attention to our emotional world, and I work a lot in the emotional and mental realm because that's where it all really happens. That's what's driving the bus, and that's, and our mind is what keeps us imprisoned. And so it's really about kind of untangling all of that and creating new belief systems and new ways of thinking.
Yeah. It's incredible when you actually understand that becoming aware, and that you think back to in school and where we learn as children and we have gym class and then we learn about keeping your body in shape and what your body looks like. But no one ever talks about your brain other than eating healthy foods, but how to actually heal your brain, and that you can change the subconscious patterns and create new healthy roadways, I call them.
Yes.
I think I had that epiphany, or Oprah Winfrey calls it her aha moments.
Yes.
When I listened to Tony Robbins over and over, and I listened to things over and over to really get them. And then you'll get them. Yeah.
You have to, because, you listen to something once, it's, you can pick up maybe one little thing here and there, but it's like learning a language, right? You have to continue to show up and listen and pay attention, and I think we are so conditioned to want the quick fix. I want the thing that like fixes everything fast, and that's just not how we're wired. I mean, we're wired to want the quick fix, but that's not how change happens. Change happens through
I don't think anyone ever told me, or I had any idea that you could change your brain or fix things. Nothing happens. Like your parents raise you and love you, but they don't set out to be like, oh, I'm gonna cause her trouble. I'm
gonna screw that kid up.
It's how we react and think about things that happened in our past that cause all the trouble.
Right.
And so I had this really amazing moment when I listened to Tony Robbins over and over. I listened in my car, and I listened to Zig Ziglar and Born to Win, love that, and just layers of. And then I would go back to Tony Robbins, and one day, because he said something about you can change. It's like a CD. You can take, and I thought, change your state in an instant. I'm like, I did not get that. Yeah. I did not understand that until I was what was that?
Didn't get that memo as a kid that you can change your state like that.
Mind you, children, if they're throwing a fit and you blow bubbles, like, they can.
Right? I know.
Yeah. But it clicked one day. I literally was in the shower, and I always have troubles in the shower. And all of a sudden I was feeling upset about something I was thinking about in the past, bothering me. And I thought of Tony Robbins, and in an instant, I thought, no, grab the thought, get rid of that thing that's making me sad from the day before, bring in a picture of my grandchild laughing. And I felt total joy. And I thought, I did what Tony Robbins said.
That's so cool. I love it. I love when you actually implement and then you feel the difference, right? You get the evidence, you feel the difference from it. It's so cool.
Yeah. And so, but I think once you start doing personal growth is when you realize that you need to do it forever, because there's so many layers.
So many layers. So many layers.
Unbelievable. So I'd love to talk a bit about the pandemic. I'm going to just, because it's a compassion project, and I really want to get into how you felt when the pandemic first hit.
Yeah.
And how you dealt with the mindset of it. That a lot of people deal with that uncertainty, fear, and Yeah.
Gosh, it was the first month was crazy. I went into complete fear and anxiety, and this is so unknown and what's going on. And then, I've never been a news watcher, but I was like finding myself on social media more, and it just created so much more internal turmoil and the amount of anxiety because I was, I live alone and I don't have a partner and all I have is my dog, and I'm like, and my family is all back east, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, what if I get COVID? I go on a ventilator. Like I started to like future trip into like worst case scenario. And because at that time, everything was so unknown, and they were, the news was making everything so big and drastic and scary. And, and then going to the grocery store, like I remember the day the quarantine started, I went to the grocery store that day or the day before, and it was mayhem and there was nothing on the shelves. And I was like, oh my God, we're not going to have food. We're not going to have, right. Until they got everything like settled and got their routines down and how they did. But like, it was mayhem. You couldn't find toilet paper anywhere. Like everybody was freaking out,
I know.
So, it was so scary. And I had to really lean on my friends in a big way at that time. And just like to keep myself grounded, I had to lean on my meditation, on my internal kind of processes and routines. And then there was like a period of time where I wasn't really exercising as much. We couldn't play volleyball anymore because I play beach volleyball, and like everything just fell away. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I kind of went into like a little mini depression, but I came out of it quickly. By April, I was feeling better, and I was like, okay, we're like working into a new norm, and I just need to keep going and need to keep my focus. And like, I was really scared about my business, and because I think like May and June, I had like no income, April I had income, but May and June I didn't, which that hasn't happened to me in years. And I had to get some support through the Small Business Association and some of the loans that were offered. So I had to take a lot of those steps to support myself. And it was really scary because thank God I have a business coach, because she's the one who kept me sane through all of this and just like, stay the course. Like, let's not change focus. Just keep doing what you're doing. And so like, it was a really hard time. And now I feel I don't get that anxiety that I got. I talked to my naturopath about a lot of different stuff. And she was like, you have like a 0.004% chance of getting COVID. And even if you're around your friends and hugging them, like it's such a small percentage. And she's like, you live alone and you're not in a partnership and you haven't had human touch. And she's like, I want you to hug your friends, like start hugging your friends, because that risk is a lot. Like it's worth it for you to do that for your own sanity and your own well-being. Right. Because that was part of the depression, was like, I can't see my friends and I can't hug my friends. And I'm such like a touch, like I love being with my friends. I'm like, connection is one of my life values. And so yeah, it was a really hard time, but also I had to lean on all of my strategies even more, like my meditation, my journaling, my morning ritual, all of those things I had to really lean on a lot more, and some people, a lot of that stuff fell away completely. And it did for me for a little bit, but then I realized like, oh, I can't go down that road. Like I need to make sure I stay the course because I have clients to serve and I have a business to run.
I think the most powerful coaches are the ones that have gone through a lot of adversity and come out strong. And because you've gone through, just like that Peter Crone, when he said he lost his mom when he was 7 and his dad when he was 17. I thought he's gone through so much. And when you can dig deep and learn, super, super powerful. But a lot of people were in that uncertainty fear, because I think it was like our nice, happy routines, 2020. We all were like so hopeful for 2020. And we're all in our little routines. Like, and I think of it now as the subconscious patterns of, and then it was like the whole world. It's kind of like, you have to change.
Yep.
And it was so hard for us to recreate a new normal.
Yeah. And I feel like we're still doing it in a lot of ways, I mean, like going to like wearing a mask out in public, going to the grocery store. It's like, you have to stand in lines, you have to, right? Like we now are in this place of, we can't just like gather and,
I know.
doing,
It's a loss. It's made people dig
Yes.
deeper. And I think you have to go inward.
Yeah.
You really do. You have to go inward and take the time to learn so that you can be better.
Yeah.
Because the other option is not good. And I look at you and everything that you know, and like you have so much knowledge and value, but yet even you got in that fear mode and you have to then use your own strategies.
Yep.
The biggest test is you're like, oh, I know this, live this great life, but then something bad happens. You're like, oh no, I'm spiraling into that.
Yeah.
Got it. Even if you don't feel like it, you have to get up and do your morning routine.
Yeah.
Get on track, right?
Yeah. And the other thing that I really recognize is like, I had to grieve. I was grieving, it was like this loss of normal life, right? Like our lifestyle and the way we live. It's like being able to run to the grocery store in 10 minutes and grab what we need, or, and so like being able to play volleyball and go on the beach every day. And so the things that I was so used to, and a lot of us are used to, it's gone. Right. And so for me, I was grieving, and I really needed to honor that and not try to fake through it. I really needed to honor my grief and I still on certain days still feel that grief around things that have been lost and everything that's happening in our country. And it's heavy some days, I'm an empath and I'm super sensitive. And so there's days where I'm just like, man, I can't carry this anymore. You're like, I need to just kind of like go in my little cave and, recover for a couple days. So, yeah. But I know that about myself now. I don't ever try to push through anything anymore. I've learned that lesson. And I think when you were saying, as we get older, we get wiser, and it's like, I will not push through anything anymore,
And that's good for you to know, even when you're dealing with clients and stuff too, because,
totally.
It's all lessons. And so I'm just curious, since we talked about morning routine, I would love to hear your morning routine. Do you have certain things you do?
Yeah. So first thing I do is I get up and I drink lemon water, and then I make tea, and then I feed my dog and all that. That's part of that. And then her and I go sit on the couch and I get my journal, and I have some cards that I draw from. I have some daily affirmation cards, and I have these other cards I love called The Answer is Simple by Sonia Choquette. And so, I do a daily drawing. I ask a question like, what do I need to know today? Or what's my message today? And so whatever's there, then I do some journaling around those cards.
What are the cards called?
The Answer is Simple by Sonia Choquette. She's like a psychic. She's been around for a really long time. But these cards are so powerful, and I love them because they're super simple. They're not like a tarot that's really complicated, but they're just really simple, and you can do different kind of like questions and draw different things and like what that means. So I've been doing that, and yeah. And then sometimes I'll meditate, sometimes not. It just depends on how much time I have or what I'm feeling. But the journaling for me is the biggest part, and it's crazy because I just finished like the last page of my journal last week, and I haven't gotten a new one yet. And so like I started to use a notebook, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. Like I need my journal, And so like yesterday I didn't journal in the morning, and I felt super anxious, and I was like, I feel off today. What's going on? And I realized, oh my gosh, it's because I didn't do my normal like thing that I do to kind of keep me connected and grounded. And I felt it a lot of the day yesterday. And then when I went on a walk with my dog, I'm like, okay, deep breathing. And I just got myself regulated by doing the deep breaths while I was walking my dog,
Yeah.
And that really helped shift my state, right? We can shift our state. But I also didn't want to ignore what was there. Like I felt it, and I was like I said, I'm sensitive, and I can't ignore what's happening in my body. I've gotten to the point where I've done so much personal growth work that I can't ignore it anymore. I can't bypass it. My body's like, hey, I'm here. Hello. This needs to come up. So,
I definitely have to do a morning routine too. I think, it's just to set your day right, to start off strong.
Totally.
And it's so easy to be like, I don't want to do it today, but you can notice a difference. And yeah.
And for me, and I don't know about for you, but it just happens now. It's not something I even have to think about. It's like something I actually look forward to. I'm like, oh, this is my quiet time with my dog next to me. And like, and sometimes I'll just like stare at the wall. And I love that. One of my best friends she was going to come up and visit me. And I'm like, what do you want to do? She's like, I just want to stare at the wall for like a day. She's a new mom, and she's like, can I just stare at the wall? And I'm like, yes, go for it.
Well, I created a gym downstairs and it's kind of progressed and gotten better and better. Now I have a meditation corner and I have spin bikes, and because of COVID, I have this on Les Mills on demand, like all these workouts.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Amazing. And meditation is kind of new for me in the last couple of years, but my husband's so patient. And sometimes he'll come home, where's Jane? I'm like, always down in the gym now. Because it's so peaceful. I just feel so, I don't know. And that's why I love what you're doing and the Reclaim Your Wild. And I would love people to reach out to you if they feel like they've lost themselves. That's what it's about, right? If you feel like you've lost your true self.
Yes. Yeah. And just kind of living, like we're just living in this world of doing for everyone else. And we kind of forget about what were my dreams, what's in my heart. Am I bringing that forward in the world, and, it's like living unapologetically and really connecting to what our deeper truths are and being able to like express ourselves out in the world. Cause I think as women, we're kind of told not to express ourselves, or we're so afraid of judgment and criticism, and so we don't fully show up. And then we carry all the stuff from our childhood with us. I've had clients who, I don't fit in, I'm an outsider. And I'm like, oh, where did that start? Right. Because that's not an adult way of being. That's a child way of being. Right. And so I just feel like so many of us are like these wounded little kids walking around in adult bodies, we have to understand, like, where does this come from?
And what you don't realize is when you go back and you realize that one incident that one teacher said to you that we take very personally, as a teenage girls.
Yeah.
Like I had things. I had a teacher say to me, "Oh, you make a good wife and mom." And I was like, "But I want to go to university or do something big." "Oh no, you're good at sewing and cooking." And I thought, "Oh, that's all okay." Well, and then
all of a sudden you become small, right? Like you just stop believing you can be something else.
Yeah. And so I think every woman has that in them somewhere. And if you go back to when you're like 16, 17, is that like a peak age where you're really like, would that be, or even younger?
I think it's younger. Yeah. I think it's younger. So my coach has a business podcast. Her name's Dallas Travers. She's amazing. And she was interviewing she does live coaching on her podcast. And she was interviewing one of my colleagues. And the girl, Katie is her name. She was talking about her fear of visibility. Mm-hmm. And she does, like, she has a successful business. She's a money coach, but she won't put herself out there like this, like live on social media, because she has fear around it. And they actually tracked it back to when she was in kindergarten, and her teacher shamed her. She was the only Asian American in her class, and her teacher shamed her in front of the whole class by making fun of a drawing that she drew of herself, because she gave herself blue hair. And she was like, "Does this look like Katie?" And everybody laughed at her. Aww. And so in that moment, she made a decision. I can't be creatively expressed. Who I am is not okay. And then her teacher also cast her and said, "You could be the flying monkey in The Wizard of Oz, because that's what you look like." And so like that kind of stuff, right? We hear at the age of 5, 6 years old, and we make a decision about ourselves. We don't know we're doing it, but we make a decision like, I'm not okay in the world. I can't be me. And if I put myself out there, everybody's going to laugh at me. So she's been carrying that with her whole life, And even though she's done a lot of personal growth work, she never went back to the source of that. She just kind of like said, I'm just going to move on. She kind of spiritually bypassed it instead of actually going back to heal it, And so the episode was incredible because my coach coached her through this whole process of how she can go back and heal and, really bring compassion to that little girl who felt like, I have no place in the world,
Honestly, Melissa, that is the key.
I know.
To me, that is the key.
Yeah.
To reclaim your wild, because you don't know that power of what this one person said, and you might not remember it, but it's there. Yeah. I have one incident that I thought about. I thought, so interesting. I used to play the guitar when I was a young teenager. My mom got me a car and taught me classical. I did classical guitar. I loved it. Cool. But I do not have a singing voice, so I would never sing, but I could play this guitar and loved it. And my mom was so excited that she got a friend of hers who played the guitar to come and, play with me.
Together.
Yeah. And I don't know how old I was, 14 maybe.
Yeah.
And he came over so excited, and he had a guitar, and I was sitting with him and I was playing, and he said, "You need to sing." And I said, "Oh, no.
Yeah.
He goes, "You can't." He said to me, "You can't play the guitar and not sing." The minute he said that, something shut down inside of me. I never touched it again.
Oh,
My mom and dad tried everything. No,
that makes me sad.
I never played after that. I put it away.
Oh my
I
God.
was so, at that age, so vulnerable. And so
Yeah.
I believed him.
Yeah.
He was older. He was my mom's friend.
Right.
He had value to me. He played and sang, and he told me I couldn't. And there's no way I was going to sing. So I quit.
That is so heartbreaking, right? Because that could have been such an incredible creative outlet for you to just really build this incredible skill and talent around,
But you see, that's just one incident in my life.
Right.
And there's so many that happen. And learning now, looking back now, and this is the power of personal growth and understanding how we think. Looking back now, that man didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just that my thoughts, and because no one can control your thoughts except yourself, even though I was 14, I was the one that said in my head, "I am not going to play the guitar."
Right.
I could have said something else, someone, and learning that is the power of how you think that changes your life
And a lot of us didn't have kind of the emotional support that we needed from our parents. I know I didn't, right? And so like the stories that we're making up in our minds, we have no one to say like, "Hey, that's not true," or "Hey, let's talk through that." Like, what did you make that mean? You made that mean, "Oh my God, I can't play the guitar if I don't sing." And so I'm just right. And so we didn't have people to help us navigate that and go talk through that so that we could actually see, "Oh no, I can actually play guitar without singing." Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, and that's happened. We all have so many instances where we don't have the support we need in the moment to really help us navigate that kind of, we just take it in and make a decision, but we can change that stuff. It just takes time. As an adult, we can change it. We can create new roadways, new pathways, right? And it just takes time, and it takes having support and, really being able to identify like, where did this stem from, and how do I now recreate a different way of being or thinking,
Yeah. And also no blame. I mean, these things happen. It's no one's fault. It's not his fault. It's not my parents. It's not, it just is something. Because a lot of people, I think, want to go back. There's so many different issues, and you can blame. And it's like, no. Tony Robbins always says, if you're going to blame for your past, blame for the good too. There's so much good in your past. Don't only blame for the bad, blame for the good too. But anyway, I could probably talk to you for a long time. Probably should wind it up. But I would just love to know I think I know the answer, but what is the impact you want to have on the world with what you're doing?
Gosh, I just really want women to just be themselves, like really live out their best lives, in who they authentically are, and not be afraid of that. Because I feel like so many women are afraid to express and to really be who they are. They're scared of judgment, or they're scared, or they feel like they're not good enough. And to really embrace all like warts and all, right? We all have flaws. But like being able to learn how to accept, embrace, and compassion is such a huge part of it, how to find that compassion. And that's why I was so attracted to this, your compassion project, because self-compassion was one of the biggest things that helped me heal in my journey,
Yeah. We all need more of that. And we all need to have compassionate listening when people are going through things, to really listen. And it's very healing for someone else, I think, if you can just listen to them. And we all need more compassion. But I thank you so much. We'll put your website. We have, I think it's Karma Chow. Is that right there?
Yeah. And Reclaim Your Wild is my Facebook group, which is like a really awesome, fun place to come and, get support. And I do live trainings in there, and so many incredible women in there. So come join.
I love that Facebook group. I think it's incredible. Yeah, we'll put the link for people to join it in the comments, because it's a beautiful group. And yeah, and they can connect with you there.
Awesome. Thank you. This was so fun. I know we and I could sit and talk for hours, but people don't have the attention span for that.
Maybe you can come back on though, because I do play a game. You would like this. I play a game of Cool to Connect. I don't know if you've heard of these cards.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I was doing them weekly, and now I've got my first one again on Sunday. And so you come back and we just play the game, and we pick 3 questions to answer, and they're really, really deep, amazing questions that really get you thinking.
Get those cards. That sounds really fun.
Yeah. So maybe you and I can set one up for a Sunday and we'll do it.
Yeah, that would be fun. I totally
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Jane.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.